The case of Martell Holt has finally reached its conclusion, and many people have been waiting for the details to come out. After months of waiting, legal back and forth, appeals, and courtroom drama, the criminal case that has been hanging over Martell's head has now been finalized. The outcome may not be what some people were expecting, and it has already started conversations about what this means for his future, especially with his ongoing custody situation with Melody. But before we get too deep into Martell's case, there are two other big stories we need to talk about today. One is about Lance Fletcher and the truth behind his custody battle, and the other is about Tamar Braxton, who recently shared a scary health emergency that left many fans shocked and worried for her well-being. So, let's start by digging into the situation with Lance Fletcher, because this one has had people talking nonstop online. On the most recent episode, viewers saw Lance revealing just how drained he has been. He opened up about feeling emotionally, mentally, and physically exhausted from trying to balance everything in his life, including raising his baby. When someone says those kinds of words, emotionally exhausted, mentally drained, physically tired, that is not something to brush off. Those are serious warning signs, and his mom understood that. She stepped in and told him she would stay with him 2 or 3 days each week to help with the baby, giving him time to rest and recharge. That's a move a lot of mothers can relate to, because sometimes you just need support to get through those overwhelming days. But as soon as this storyline aired, the conversations online started heating up. People began questioning if Lance was really a single father. Many viewers were saying, there's no way that man is raising that baby all by himself. Some even claimed that the storyline was fake, that it was just for the cameras. They wanted to know, where is the baby's mother? Why is nobody talking about her? Well, now we know at least part of the truth. Neil Fletcher, Lance's mom, went live on Carlos King's page and addressed the situation. She made it clear that this is not just a made-up storyline for television. According to her, Lance does in fact have temporary full custody of his baby, and the reason nobody is talking much about the mother is because there's an ongoing custody case in family court. She explained that because of the legal process, she can't reveal too many details about what is going on with the baby's mom, but the fact that the court granted Lance temporary full custody of a newborn already says a lot. Courts don't just take a baby away from its mother unless something serious is going on behind the scenes. That revelation alone shut down many of the rumors floating around. Lance really does have custody, and this is not just a storyline for TV. Neil Fletcher also took time to paint a picture of who her son really is. She described Lance as a man who has always been hardworking, responsible, and devoted to his children. According to her, Lance owns his own home, which he has had for over a decade, and he has always been focused on his businesses. In fact, she said there are times when she has to call him late at night to remind him to go home because he'll be working so hard that he forgets to rest. That's the kind of person she says Lance is, a man dedicated not just to his work but also to his family. She also reminded people that Lance already has children from previous marriages. He has 2 ex-wives and shares custody of the children from those relationships. This means that raising his children is not new to him. He's been doing it, and according to her, he has always taken that responsibility seriously. When you put that together with the fact that the court trusted him with temporary full custody of his newborn, it does suggest that Lance is a father who truly steps up when needed. Now, not everyone agreed with Neil Fletcher's perspective. While many people supported her and respected her for defending her son, there were also viewers who felt differently. Some people said, single mothers do this all the time without help. They go to work, they come home, and they still take care of their babies. In their view, Lance should not be relying on his mom for extra support, but rather handling it completely on his own. On the other hand, many others felt that mental and physical exhaustion is something to take seriously, no matter if you are a man or a woman. Postpartum depression is often talked about in women, but men can also experience their own version of emotional exhaustion when trying to adjust to raising a newborn. Neil Fletcher believed that her son needed the support, and she was not about to let him go through that kind of stress alone, but that's not where Neil's comments ended. She also had some sharp words for others involved in the storyline, including Tisha. According to Neil, she gave Tisha a direct warning, saying that she is not the one to be played with. Basically, she called Tisha untruthful, saying she likes to twist stories around when things aren't going her way. Neil claimed that Tisha often tries to flip situations to her advantage, and she wasn't about to let her do that when it came to her son. And then, in true reality TV fashion, Neil dropped a bombshell about herself. She admitted that she had surgery to lift her chest, and she said she did it for Chris Fletcher. But instead of being embarrassed, she owned it completely. Her attitude was simple: if you're going to be on reality TV, you cannot let people embarrass you with your own business. You own it, you tell your truth, and nobody can use it against you. That's exactly what she did, and she made it clear she had no shame about it. From there, she went on to address Chris himself. She admitted that she had cursed him out after a certain scene aired where Melody asked Chris if he was the one who told Martell to get NDAs with the women he was involved with. Chris denied it, but then suggested it might have been Morrow or Maurice. Neil was furious about that because she felt Chris should have been better prepared to answer Melody's questions. She said everyone knows how Melody words things, and if you aren't careful, you can get caught up. In her eyes, Chris should have known better and handled that situation differently. This part of the story got people talking because it reminded everyone just how messy reality TV can be when personal lives, legal issues, and friendships all mix together. Neil showed that she is willing to defend her son at all costs, and she isn't afraid to call out anyone she feels is trying to make him look bad. And now, let's shift over to Tamar Braxton, because her story has been just as shocking. Tamar recently revealed that she went through a terrifying health scare that nearly cost her life. According to her own words, she almost died. She shared that she was found by a friend lying in a pool of blood, with injuries to her face. She said she fractured her nose, lost some teeth, and even lost mobility. She described herself as weak and admitted that she is struggling both physically and mentally with what happened. For Tamar, this was not the first time she's had a health crisis, which is why many people are worried. Over the years, she has had several emergencies, including an incident where she reportedly took pills and ended up in the hospital. She has also shared publicly about being robbed, going through difficult emotional periods, and dealing with constant ups and downs. Some fans have even said it feels like every few months Tamar ends up back in a crisis situation. What makes this even harder to watch is that Tamar has such a vibrant personality online. If you follow her on TikTok, you'll see her staying up late into the night cooking, singing, and hanging out with groups of men who may be part of her band or her background team. She's constantly entertaining, laughing, and putting on a show for her followers. But behind all that energy, it seems like she may be struggling with deeper issues. Some people believe that all the late-night partying and constant noise is her way of avoiding sitting alone with her own thoughts. When she posted about her recent emergency, she admitted she didn't even know what had happened to her. She just woke up to the reality of being badly injured. Some have speculated that maybe her health scare was related to blood sugar issues from all the late-night eating she does on her lives. Others think it could be stress-related. Whatever the reason, it's clear that this was very serious, and Tamar herself admitted that her entire outlook on life has now changed because of it. The sad part is that Tamar has a son who needs her, and fans are now urging her to take better care of herself. Many people are saying it's time for her to slow down, step back from the constant partying and online activity, and focus on her health. At the end of the day, no amount of late-night cooking shows or entertaining lives are worth risking her health and well-being. Now, let's get into the Martell Holt case because this one is huge. For a long time, Martell has been dealing with a criminal charge related to domestic violence and harassing communications. He originally pleaded guilty to DV harassing communications, which is considered a third-degree misdemeanor. But after entering that plea, he decided to appeal. His hope was that the appeal would get him a new trial, possibly overturn the guilty verdict, or at least reduce the charge. The appeal trial was supposed to happen recently, but instead of going through with it, Martell and the prosecutor ended up negotiating a plea deal. In this deal, Martell agreed to plead guilty to harassing communications, but the domestic violence part of the charge was dropped. That's an important detail, because the DV portion of the charge was the most serious and damaging part. By having that removed, Martell now only has a conviction for harassing communications, which is considered a lesser offense. The court accepted the deal, and Martell was ordered to pay a $300 fine plus $100 in court costs, making it a total of $400. Other than that, there were no additional penalties. His record no longer shows the probation and other restrictions that were originally tied to the DV charge. On paper, this looks like a win for Martell, because instead of having a domestic violence conviction on his record, he now only has harassing communications. Why does this matter so much? Because Martell is also in the middle of a custody battle with Melody. In Alabama, courts take domestic violence convictions very seriously, especially when it comes to custody. If Martell had walked into court with a DV conviction, it could have been enough to make the judge take custody away from him altogether. By reducing the charge, he avoids that worst-case scenario. It doesn't guarantee that he'll get what he wants in custody court, but it definitely improves his chances compared to what they would have been. Some people believe the prosecutor accepted the plea deal simply because they didn't want to spend more time and money going to trial. Others think Martell may have shown evidence that made the case less clear-cut. Whatever the reason, the fact is that the court accepted the plea, and Martell is now officially guilty only of harassing communications. This case has sparked a lot of debate. On one hand, people argue that he got off easy, and that the DV part should not have been dropped. On the other hand, some believe this was a fair outcome because Martell admitted guilt to something, even if it wasn't the most serious part of the charge. Either way, this outcome is now final, and it will definitely have an impact on what happens next in his custody battle.